lives of Indians. You see, we got all these things where? In other people's hands. That's why you got to bring them back to your own. Knowledge and skills, social recognition, status, and prestige. Earlier today, you talked about externalization, what we call it. When you make the recognition by other people your ultimate prize, when your status is dependent upon the admiration of outsiders, when your prestige is something handed to you by other people, then you are at their mercy. And we got too many people who think they are nothing until they're recognized by white folk. Almost the whole of that 1954 decision in the U.S. Supreme Court was based on the crazy idea that black children could not love themselves and that black people could not love themselves until white people accepted them and loved them first. And you had to ask them, what if they never loved you? What if they never accept you? Are you going to spend then an eternity in self-hatred and self-abnegation? You cannot put your self-love and your social status and recognition in the hands of other people. You must become self-rewarding, and you must be the source of your own status and the source of your own prestige. Yes. You see, let others depend on you to confer prestige on them. Then that gives you power. Love, affection, and acceptance by others. We want to be loved by white folk. We got a lot of silliness around here now, talking about racial harmony. And we got some joker running around here with some kind of Peace Corps of love, or whatever it is. This is the utter nonsense. You think that you were going to, you sound like the flower children of the 60s. You think you're going to send somebody around this city singing love, 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 and change the social realities in this world. Like those people in the 60s thought they were going to hand flowers out and transform the world. You're out of your mind. I sent Mayor Dinkins a copy of a letter that I sent to the New York Times. Early in his administration, when the New York Times set up there criticizing black people for in overplaying the thing, they tried to make it appear that the whole of the black community was boycotting the whole of the Korean community. You see, just creating a total image. And I had to write them behind that, so I don't know. How do you underestimate people's intelligence to such a degree? But the thing that made me most indignant was this: who are you to sit in judgment of African people? You who are the inheritors of the death and total destruction of nations. Yes. The New York Times are the inheritors of the wealth from the murder and killing and the enslavement of people. And you are going to sit in judgment because we boycott 2 Korean stores. You're out of your mind. We will not let a bunch of murderers and killers set the moral line for the behavior of our people. These are the greatest criminals and insults to God on this globe today. And we dare listen to them as some kind of moral beacons in the world. Yes. Look at reality, deal with reality here. Okay, but have to go on to exercise power, then control must be exercised over the things that are valued in society. Power can rest on various power bases. but control of economic resources provides a continuous and important base of power in society. And the other part of that letter I told Dinkins was this. You were talking about race harmony. There's not going to be any race harmony in this city, in this country, and in this world as long as there is the economic imbalance between our people. It's not going to happen. No singing of love songs between races is going to solve this problem. There has to be a change in the economic power of African people and other people. And I told the New York Times that time too. You want the black community to smile while it is being economically sodomized. It's not going to happen. And how cool will you be if the Japanese took 95 cents out of every American dollar and shipped it to Japan? And yet that is what is happening to Africans and African Americans, who only spend a nickel out of every dollar with themselves and give 95 cents out of every dollar that they make to another people. And we are supposed to be happy. And yet old Thorpe Bush is having all kinds of conniptions because of what? A trade imbalance. Because what? Too much money is leaving the United States and going to Japan and going to other nations. He knows that if this continues, the United States as a nation will deteriorate and fall into the dust. He knows that it will collapse in social and political chaos. You cannot unemploy a nation and a people. You cannot take out the nation's wealth and send it to other parts of the world, and it continues as a nation. Following in the shipment of wealth outside of a nation is economic, political, and social chaos and destruction. That is why in the end, when it comes down to the real cases, the United States will have to deliver a message to the Japanese just the way Kissinger delivered a message to the Arabs. We are not going to let you strangle us to death. And before we do that, we will end your life. Yes. Yes. This is the action of nations and people. You understand? You do not sacrifice your children. You do not sacrifice the social harmony of your neighborhoods in the name of any doggone principle to another people. That's right. I've told you before, a part of black-on-black violence is a result of the fact that the black community is subsidizing other people's families and children dying its own. You owe nothing to Koreans. You know of nothing to Indians from India. I remember Dr. Clark saying, "What? We as people don't owe anybody nothing but what? Ask with it." So we have to recognize. So a great deal of the problem here is inequality in power and inequality centered around economic power. I'm going to move here. Let's see. I'll give you a few more minutes. I'm not saying. But you have to recognize that. If you read carefully black-on-black violence, you'll see that in there where I talk about the exportation and the importation of crime. How the Europeans exported their criminals. You see. And then, made the colonial people reduce their crime wave. And of course, they claimed it was due to their moral superiority. You see. But actually, basically what we did was finance what they call their moral superiority. I tell many middle classes now, be careful. You think that you are good. You know, you are intrinsically good. You're only good because you can afford to be good. Yeah. The true test of your goodness and morality is when all of your money is gone. The largest percentage of people's morality is bought with money. Yes. And we saw the European criminal, poor and raggedy, doing what first? Murdering, killing, and raping.
Right.
Yes. Claiming he was coming over here for freedom of religion. And then after he raped and colonized and set up a system for robbing the colonial people, all of a sudden he became what? Morally superior. I talked about it on black violence, something called the structuration of crime. And what I try to get across in there is that the type of crime a person commits is related to their class level, not to their criminality. You see, people can be equally criminal across class. Oh yes. But depending on what class you're in, you will commit certain crimes. Why should an accountant go out in the street and mug somebody? When through embezzlement, he can steal $100,000. Yeah. So the type of crime that he will commit is related to his class and professional level. He's still a criminal, but his skills and knowledge and so forth allows him to commit a different what? Sort of crime. And then you let the white man call that what? White collar. And then you make it appear that he is less criminal. Because you want to major the criminality by the physicality of the act. You got to get over that. When he was poor and without social status, he immediately entered into a physical act of violence. Understand? But what is a man on the street who has no accounting skills, doesn't work in an accounting firm, and needs to commit a crime going to do? His options are what? Limited. So in a sense, when the society oppresses and maintains a people at a certain social level, it creates the kind of crimes they're going to engage in. And then it wants to run some kind of stupid psychology talking about that criminal personality. Yeah. Want to move out of crime? Move out. Increase your wealth. Increase your power. You can commit a different type of crime there. You know, that's what goes on anyway. Let's be honest about it. You know, this is what it's about. Yeah. It's just like these people, you know, talking about they want black people to get rid of children. And yet we tell people, look, you know, it's interesting that the more money people make, the less children they have. So if you want black people to have fewer children, what do? Make more money. That's how you do it. But no, the society said we're not going to let you rise to that position. And we want you to kill your children as a part of the bargain. Yeah, this is what it does. And it asks them, instead of transforming itself, increasing opportunities, and open the gate, it asks that black people engage in self-annihilation. But it would be covered over with a lot of nonsense. Okay, I'm going to, 13 minutes here, I'll be through. So remember the structuration of crime. Now I want to quickly point out some things here. some of them you know, in terms of economic differences. I showed you I think I mentioned the last time you were here, I was here, about the Asian businesses and their growth. Remember we said the number of businesses owned by Asian Americans increased by 9.89, that is 989% between 1982 and 1987, a rate more than 6 times greater than the growth rate for all U.S. businesses between 1982 and 1987, which was only 14%. The growth rate compares to 80% for Latino, 57% for women, and 38% for African American owned businesses. This money by the Asian will be transformed into power. Yes. Transformed into status. And when you become a part of the Asian juggernaut. How many people saw this piece with Sun Moon Young last night? Yes. A man beginning to have a major impact on U.S. policy, thinking, behavior, ideology, and so forth, because he had what? Money. Money. Millions. Who can run a paper that loses $50 million a year and still keep it going. The Washington Times. Let's look quickly again. At another situation here. Ethnic road to riches. The immigrant job specialty. New York Times 1/2/92. When Parmjit Singh left his job as a mechanic on a Greek ship in 1981, he settled in New York City instead of returning to the family farm in India. After working 3 years as a busboy and a cook in a Greek restaurant, Mr. Singh met a fellow Punjabi who owned a gas station in the city. He taught me how to run a station, the 32-year-old Indian recalled. It's very hard work, but it's easy to run. To order gas, to clean, to keep the books. By 1990, Mr. Singh with an Indian partner owned 13 gas stations in the New York City area. What's going on here, ladies and gentlemen? He has competitors, however, chiefly other Punjabi chiefs who began buying and working in gas stations in the city at the same time he did, some of whom owned as many as 40. Where have we been? What's going on here? Don't we use gas? Or do we only, well, that's the just a decade ago, gas station ownership usually mirrored the ethnic makeup of the surrounding neighborhood. But now, about 40% of the city stations are owned by South Asians, estimated in the sector. 40% of the stations. And to what do they attribute this? They have also developed their own specialized niches, virtually monopolizing certain businesses and professions, and slowly changing the commercial, political, and cultural profile of the city. It takes more than love. It takes more than racial harmony. You've got to move into leadership. And there are many other things here. The common thread linking all immigrant niches is the insider's edge on the profession. Recruiting through ethnic network is the most efficient way the employer gets labor. More than 85% of the 1,600 green grocery stores in metropolitan area owned and run by Koreans. And it goes on here, but I just want to read one final thing. There's some other things in there I'd like to bring. An estimated 100,000 Koreans have come to the metropolitan area since the 1970s, and 65% of Korean families own at least one business. Okay? This is ethnicity. This is where you go when you think in terms of ethnicity. They go on here, I have an article here, Asians turn in Silicon Valley. How many people are familiar with Silicon Valley? The very area where the American computer industry and electronic industry is developed in California. And they talk about here, once engineers, now entrepreneurs. Asian immigrants have long made up a large portion of the engineers in Silicon Valley. Now, a growing number are starting high technology enterprises, eager for more responsibility and motivated by opportunity for advancement in many countries. These entrepreneurs, particularly those of Chinese descent, are setting up networks of contact and forging business links with East Asia. What's going on here? The transfer of technology and information to the Asian realm in the world, because they plan to make this next century the Asian century. This is what's going on. Are they hollering about racism? Are they complaining and moaning and groaning? They're taking care of what? Business. Another thing here, McDonald's rich Taiwanese backer. They talk about here, and I just read in the interest of time, the Taiwan Aerospace Corporation is no fly-by-night operation, but rather the high-powered venture of a government, an organized set of people, right? With 76 billion in foreign exchange reserves, more than any other nation. The prospect of Taiwan's buying a major interest in McDonald's, the largest American manufacturer of civilian aircraft after the Boeing company, has a sign that this island's economy is coming of age and entering the world of international partnerships and investment. What is going on here? These Taiwanese are literally buying American technology. They are buying America's second largest military producer and will now, in a sense, buy themselves into the aerospace race. This should be the role of African Americans. We do not need to start the African continent at ground zero. We can jumpstart the African continent into the space age, into the aerospace age, if we decide as African Americans to take over large portions of the American aerospace industry and space industry and connect it with our African brothers. But you have to do it. Two retailers reach out to minorities, hoping to stimulate sales among minority shoppers. Two of the largest retailers, Kmart Corporation and Toys R Us Incorporated, and hired advertising agencies that specialize in marketing to Black or Hispanic Americans. Why do you call yourself poor when people prospect for gold in your neighborhood? Huh? You don't get money from poor people. I'm telling you, Toys R Us, Kmart, Walmart, and these other people see us as what? Wealthy. They would not be prospecting among us if they knew that wealth was not here. We are the only ones blind to our own wealth as a people. They go on here, they're hiring minority agencies to produce direct marketing and so forth. They're going to put this stuff in Black magazines because they underscores the increasing clout of Black consumers who spend an estimated $250 billion a year, and Spanish consumers who spend about $175 billion a year. These minorities make up a growing proportion of the overall population, as retailers anticipate by singling out minority markets for special attention. You got money. You got power. And we'll talk about that in a second. Dollar General. What recession? The recession has not brought a hard time to all retailers. You see, people talk about the retailers who were suffering during Christmas. Not all retailers suffered during Christmas. The Dollar General Corporation, which sells inexpensive necessities like toothpaste, bleach, paper towels to low-income consumers, is growing at a pace that is the envy of merchants with more affluent customers. Understand? Last week it reported the best Christmas selling season in the history of the company. Where are they getting that money from? Let's read it quickly. With 1,500 stores in 23 states concentrated in the southeastern parts of the Midwest, Dollar General is one of the few large chains to focus expressly on serving low-income people. Understand? They're not suffering from the depression. They're making money. Why? Because they're selling to low-income people. Because they know that's where the wealth is, you see. And they know more about our market than we do. Because we don't study our market. We don't understand our market. We don't research our market. We don't teach as a part of African-centered education the study of markets. advertising, and all of the other things. African-centered education is not multicultural education because it involves self-understanding. And you must understand yourself and your own potential first before you can engage in trying to understand other people. It goes on here. One more. I think you heard Mark read this one, so I'll just mention it briefly. Thriving where others won't go. Mario Diaz stood hands on hips in the front of a Seatown grocery store, and we know that Elvis. He looked as if he owned the place, which he does. How many Dominicans do you know in the supermarket business? He asked his friend Teodoro Cortez. And he goes on here, I'm just going to skip a little bit. The Seatown group alone reports that about half of its 167 stores, mostly in the New York area, are owned by Dominicans. A group of dark-skinned people, darker than Puerto Ricans, but who distance themselves even further than Puerto Ricans from African people. I know you don't want to deal with it because you keep saying Latino and black all the time.
Tell it to us.
You're going to learn one day, and I'm going to tell you right here, and it's unpleasant. But one day, the major group you will be struggling against will be Latinos. Yeah, does that mean we don't enter alliances at this time? Fine. But you enter alliances and coalitions in terms of your what? Interest. Okay? You're not getting married. Okay? In terms of your interest. Because you have something they need, and they have something we need, and we mutually move on together, knowing though at some point we also may be enemies. Oh yes, you don't want to deal with it. But you got to learn reality. And African-centered education is an education in what is real. We talked about today how the United States could fight the Japanese and fight the Germans. And then another day become allies. But that's the way the world is built, ladies and gentlemen. Because you act in terms of your peoplehood. People treat you all right. People support you. People don't get in your way and use you. Fine. You work with them. But when they get in your way and so forth, you got to deal with them. This, the Latino segment of the American population is growing faster than the black population. And a good portions of it is an entrepreneurial population. And they will be used as cannon fodder by the white supremacists against black interests when it fits their needs. So you can't get deceived by momentary feelings of harmony and so forth. And let me tell you something else, black people, because I see too many black people trying to save every other people but themselves. Here you are, can hardly walk, and you're going to carry somebody else on your back. I'm telling you up front, I'm here to solve problems of black people. And it's African people first. You can take this as and this is, you can take it any way you want it. It's not meant to be unfriendly to Latinos. I teach Latinos more than I teach blacks really at this point. And I feel very good in their presence, and we share many things. But you also have to be what? Real. And these people are going for themselves. As any people should. Understand? I have no jealousy, no envy, no hatred because these people are taking care of their families. That's what a people is supposed to do. I am just concerned as to why we are not doing the same. And so they say they own over half of these 167 stores. The owners of the 37 new Bravo stores are almost entirely Dominican. All told, the region's Dominicans sell more than $1 billion worth of groceries a year. The Dominican grocery business owners who succeed, as well as Mr. Diaz, have followed a quick, steep route to six-figure incomes. Often they plant their stores in tough neighborhoods where major chains have pulled out for salvation. Who is the tough neighborhood? You know where it is. We gotta bring it to a close. You must operate in terms of race. You have no other choice.
Tell it.
You understand? Now I have here what they call a chart here of social standing, where they have measured the social standing of ethnic groups in this country and across the world apparently. Out of a 9-point scale, which implies the highest, down to 1. With the native, they like that, native white American. And this measure was taken in 1989, 7.03. Of course, they're at the top of the whole deal. And from there to follow British, Protestants, Catholics, Irish, and down to the bottom of the list, we get Negroes. 4.17. Where's this racial harmony taking place? Where's this melting pot occurring? Only one step above Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, and Gypsies. It's their work, not mine. They ask people to evaluate the standing of ethnic groups, their own ethnic groups with other ethnic groups, and that's where it come out. You're going to have to make it through the top, through your own power, and under your own power. And the people you see at the top are the people who got no power, man. There's no accident there. So now, we're going to jump over there. We'll check out here another thing. Let me just say something real quick here. So we need to study European power. We need to see how it's put together, because it's put together as a system, its weaknesses and its strength. We need to look at the origins of power. Anthropologists in their study of human culture have been able to document that the exercise of power and the division of labor within the family constitute the most basic power relationship, the one from which true power structures develop. I'm quoting now from Dye's book on power. But he's saying here that power begins where? In the what? Home. In the family structure. There are many ways you can look at families. We must not only look at black families, whether it's on welfare or welfare, where it is headed by a man or not or what have you. But a family also represents a set of power relationships. The word father, the word mother, son, daughter represent power relationships. They represent status relationships. That is why we recognize the abuse of parental power creates what? Personality problems and can cripple children forever. The judicious and wise use of parent power can create beautiful and wonderful and positive children. In other words, then, parents have power, and there's a structure of power relations within the family which lays up the child and the person's attitude toward power, how they will use power, how they will relate to power for the rest of their lives. And that is why the family has to be appropriately organized in terms of its power relationships. And that is why the oppressor wishes to distort and disrupt the black family and have it misidentify itself and make itself dysfunctional. In doing so, then, its relationship to power. And when you talk about criminality, we talk about what? Relationship to authority. What are you talking about there? A power relationship. Does your father have authority? Does your mother have authority? And in a sense then, they are not only your mother and your father, but they are the symbols of authority, and they lay the script for your relationship to authorities throughout the society itself.
Right.
And consequently then, how we organize our families and how we relate to each other sets the basis for how we relate to power and whether we develop power. And one of the major reasons why this system oppresses the economic system of African people is so that it can disrupt the power relations in the African family and therefore disrupt black people. You must note that the black family and the family serves major functions. It is a mini society within itself. It is a nation within itself. And it, in a sense, is a microcosmic nation. And it is a preparation for the individual's behavior in the macrocosmic nation. Look at what the family functions do. It regulates sexual behavior, reproductive behavior, socialization behavior, affectional behavior, status, function, protection, and economic functioning. A family is an economic unit. And the way it shares its economic resources, the way it deals with its economic resources, lays the ground for how the nation deals with its economic resources. You have to understand that. And therefore, the restructuring of the family is a restructuring for power. The true political power organization begins with the development of power relations between family and kinship groups. The basic power structures are voluntary alliances of families and clans who acknowledge the same leaders, habitually work together in economic enterprises, agree to certain ways of conduct for the maintenance of peace among themselves, and cooperate in the conduct of offensive and defensive warfare. Thus, power structures are born within the development and cooperation between families and kinship groups. A part of Afrocentric education is education for familyhood. When we talk about taking these boys out, we are training them to be fathers. We're training them to be husbands. We're training them how to relate to each other socially. We're training them to build a team spirit which will be used against their oppressors. Look at the way this white man has you organized today. You can get a bunch of black men who are willing to call themselves bulls. You know, Chicago Bulls and the Bulls and the they can wear the same uniforms. Right? You see it all the time. You look at it all the time.
Don't talk about it.
They coordinate their behavior, don't they? Yeah, they organize as a team. And they'll run over any bunch of white men they see. As long as it's where? On the football field or the basketball court. And somehow they are unable to take that team spirit, that willingness to act around one activity, off of the court and overrun their enemies. And you sit there and watch it. You must ask, why is it that these men cannot take the kind of organization that they represent, the kind of identity, the kind of synchrony, and all of these other things that they represent on the court? They're giving permission to be white men there. Now they're looking for permission to be white men other places. A true African-centered education then will train these boys not only in team behavior on the basketball and the football courts, but train them to operate as a team in the world and to overrun white men. This is African-centered education, not multicultural education. And you see here, they must come together in terms of conduct. We got a lot of people out here who think good manners is not good. We got a lot of young men growing up out here who think to have good manners and to conduct oneself well is effeminate. You don't understand it. Good manners are not just playthings. Good manners are the means by which a group maintains its organization, maintains its stability, maintains a certain level of expectation and predictability within itself, maintains harmony. It's a system of working off tension and seeing the tension is directed in another way other than destroying the harmony of a people. So good manners is an essential part of a people's ethnicity and people's power. And that's why, again, when I talk about African-centered education, we must talk about training our people in good manners and in etiquette. I know you don't like the word, but that's what it's about, because that's a part of power, relating. When you look at the great religions you talk about here, you must recognize that the great religions not only talk about praying to Jesus and calling on his name, that's a part of it, but great religions also instruct people in how to relate one to the other. Honor thy mother and thy father, you see. When you look then at great religions, you will see they also have codes of what? Conduct. And that is a part of the people's power, you see. And great teachers teach Confucius on what? Conduct and behavior. A great deal of the Asian unity comes out of the teachings of Confucius. What they call filial piety and fidelity and so forth. Yes, we have got to bring it in. Okay. I think since I got a captive audience here, it's going to work here. I'm going to be offended. But anyway. To get an idea of what we're talking about African-centered education and what a preparation for taking power involves. And what must be done? We must have a sense of territoriality. You gotta be people. And if you're a people, you gotta have a sense of territoriality. And you don't feel good when other people are invading your territory. And I said today, it offends my territoriality when I walk out and see Koreans and every other people owning the black community. And yet you got some people who want to argue, about citizenship. But now watch this business. I'm telling you, you're only free to do the wrong thing. Now, where is the greatest sense of territoriality in the black community today? In what? Not there. You got it. Crack. They will shoot each other, protect what their turn, murder and kill to protect what they call what? Territory. In other words, they got the Negro's mind so messed up, he will only murder and kill and fight to have the right to engage in the destruction of his people. We will only fight each other so that we can destroy each other. This sense of territoriality then must be elevated onto all of the other levels. And it has to be a territory about grocery stores and gas stations and cleaners and everything else, because that's our territory. Okay, we're going to bring it into a close. We got to look at our sources of power. We got plenty of power in the black community. We got a consumer market out here. Yes, we got a consumer market here. We buy a lot, but we're not using that consumer power correctly. You can see from what I read today, everybody values black folks' money, which gives you what? Power. Power. And you got to use it. Now you use it, as you said, brother, to get what? Economic, some kind of equality to spend our money with white folk. Now you got to use it to get control of your own markets. You see, you got it. what's going on here? I got it. I want to talk a little bit about UNCF and the Blue Rolls. The Blue Rolls charade and the Budweiser game and this buck dancing for pennies. Yes. Singing and hollering your lungs out for nickels. Oh yes. Being multicultural to death. Oh yes. You gotta look at it for what it is. That thing actually involves the financing of poor black education. You're talking about 41 so-called black colleges. You raise 10 or 11 million dollars. You're not raising $1 million for each one of those schools. And when you count administrative costs and other things, they'll be lucky if they get a couple $100,000 out of it. And yet you spend $250 million. And then you have the insult of Budweiser, some joker, coming up here giving you a $10,000 check or $50,000 check. When, according to your information, brother, black people, along I guess with Latinos, spend $600 million a year buying beer and liquor. And you're supposed to bow and scrape when somebody walks up and hands you $10,000. They should be beaten on camera. Insulted for 3 and 4 doggone hours. With people who've stolen your money and use your money and hand you nickels and buy you back for less than a penny. And you got Honey Chong as co-host. Oh yes. Filled with groups that are sucking the black community. Honey Chong, who is this? The Asian people in harmony. If you had your own stores and you owned yours, you wouldn't have to be there begging and have to come to talk and say they don't come. You got white newsmen on there. People spend all of the year assassinating the character of black people, pretending they're actually raising money for black people. This game is a farce. And selling black people on the idea that education will solve all their problems. That's the biggest lie you'll ever hear. I want some of you to come over to the Pan-African Research and Development Foundation, because we're going to do some solid research. Yes, sir. We're going to do some solid research. We want to find out how much money black people spend with these various companies. Number one, we're going to find out how many millions they give to white colleges of black folks' money. You understand? And how many nickels they give to black folks. Okay? And we're going to get this information together, and we're going to start a rumble here. We're going to start, oh yes, because what are we talking about? If you're talking about $600 million a year, you're talking about something like $50 million a month. And somebody's going to walk up and give you a $10,000 check, a $50,000 check. All you got to do is boycott them for 1 week and they'll give you $10 million. You don't have to beg, you got to buy the balls. I don't have time to read to you what William Coors and those people say about black people. And how Coors Beer finances the Heritage Foundation. How Coors Beer finances the most far-right groups and skinheads and Nazi groups in this country in the world. And yet they have nerve to put Coors Gold and the silver bullet in your places of livelihood. That means you got power there. Now I want us to move into the space age. I have a catalog here that claims to have 6 million black families. The addresses of 6 million black families. In other words, we can create a mailing list of 6 million black families. We can create a mailing list of 10 million black families. It's time for the nationalists to computerize those 6 million black people. It's time for the nationalists to get themselves a computer that writes letters, that folds envelopes with stamps on letters, and directly addresses black people. And give them that research data and let them know what's happening. And so let's squeeze them all on the pool.
Runaway slave. I'm a runaway slave. I'm a runaway slave.